Dawn crawls over the valley like a wounded thing, all ribs and breath. The wind cuts thin and cold, picking up the metallic bite of old blood. My horse snorts and tosses his head. I pat his neck and ease back on the reins. The gate to Jeremiah's cabin leans crooked in the half-light, and for a heartbeat I figure my eyes are lying to me. They aren't. 5 women hang from ropes strung across the front beams like a gallows lashed in a hurry. Dresses in tatters ripple in the wind. Hair curtains faces. Bare feet sway to a rhythm only the breeze can hear. A plank nailed to the post carries a burned message, letters gouged and blackened. This ain't your land. What belongs to Callahan stays Callahan. My throat turns to grit. Jeremiah left me this ground in a scrawled will. A second chance bought after a first life wore me thin. I can almost hear his voice. Keep the fences mended and the stove fed. Eli. Land don't keep itself. I'd laughed when I read it. I'm not laughing now. My boot hits frost. The earth is hard as iron. The horse sidesteps, jittering. Hush. I say, though I'm talking to myself as much as him. I step closer. Fingers find a wrist ice cold, skin ridged with rope burn and press for life. There. A ghost of a pulse. Another. Then another. Faint as a moth's wing. I don't think. Thinking is a luxury for clean rooms and quiet afternoons. I draw my knife, the blade winking at first light, and slice the nearest rope. The woman falls dead weight, but I catch her, grunt, lower her onto my coat. She's heavier than she looks. Muscle and bone and stubborn breath. A livid welt tattoos her neck. She coughs a single rip sound. Easy, I whisper. To who? Her. Me. The wind. Second rope. Third. Fourth. Fifth. By the time the last one hits my arms, my hands are shaking and my breath saws white. I drag them 2 by 2 under the porch awning, out of the wind. Inside the cabin is dark and stale. Dust thick enough to write a life story in. But there's floor room. And there's a hearth. I strike tinder. Fire blooms, grows, breathes. Heat wakes the room. Also, it's ghosts. They're all alive. Barely. I cut bindings at wrists and ankles, and every knot tells me a little more about the hands that tied them tight. Practiced. Unhurried. I've seen knots like that on army wagons and at prison camps. Whoever did this didn't plan to come back with mercy. In the wash of firelight, faces move out of shadow. The first woman, dark hair. Eyes like polished coal, fights the fog even while she sleeps. A split mars her cheek. Dried blood turned brown. Leader, my gut says. Fire wrapped in skin. The second has rust-colored hair and a mouth that looks like it learned to smile only after it learned to grit its teeth. Pride holds her spine straight, even laid on the floor. The third is fine-boned, hair pale as cut straw. A gentleness to her features that's a dare in this country. The fourth's eyes are still and deep, watchful even in half-sleep, quiet knife, quiet mind. The last is older than the rest, face carved with a calm I want to borrow. Somehow she makes the cabin feel less like a burned-out ruin and more like a room where decisions get made. I feed the fire, find a kettle, coax a little water to warm. In the rattling of tin and crackle of kindling, I hear the West speak in its usual tongue. Choose. I didn't ride here to choose a war. I rode here to be small, to fix fences and count calves and forget. But land doesn't respect a man's intention. It respects the prints he leaves on it. The older woman is the first to wake, and she wakes like a house opens its door quietly, wholly. Her eyes move across the room and land on me. Where? Jeremiah's cabin. I say, I'm Elias. You're safe. She looks toward the doorway, the 19th inch beyond it where the gallows beams meet the dawn. For now, she says. Her voice is a steady rope, nothing frayed, nothing wasted. I'm Martha Hale. Water, the redhead rasps. I raise the canteen. She drinks like the liquid is a promise she doesn't trust but takes anyway. Scarlet. She gets out, then swallows the name like it's a memory that burns going down. The pale-haired one stirs next, fingers clenched around a threadbare scarf. Lily May, she whispers like she's apologizing to air. The quiet woman lifts a hand, palm down, a small wave. Evelyn, she says, voice low, precise. The dark-haired fighter sits up in stages, each inch one with stubbornness. She leans an elbow to her knee and studies me as if she's been assigned to judge my soul. "Isabella Kane," she says at last. "You cut us down. I couldn't leave you." "Plenty would," Isabella says. She tilts her head toward the sign. "Judge Callahan expects plenty will." The name rings a bell I don't like. Callahan. I heard it in mess tents and in whispers where men counted favors instead of coins. A judge in title. A broker in truth. The kind of man who can put a lawman's star on a mosquito if it happens to draw blood in the right direction. The kind who signs papers with one hand while the other hand tightens a knot. Martha's hands touch the welt on her neck and keep moving check ribs, check wrists like she's conducting an inventory of things still working. "He runs the town," she says. "Owns the courthouse from steps to ceiling. Buys debts and sells people." When we raised our voices, he decided to raise us from a beam. Evelyn unties a leather pouch at her waist and opens it like a priest unveiling a relic. Inside lie folded papers, deeds, receipts, ledger pages, a seal's imprint on cheap wax. "Proof," she says. "Not rumor. Not grievance. The kind that holds up when a badge asks for it." Scarlett's fingers curl. Knuckles go white. "He burned my home to the ground and said the paper said it was his." Her voice is a spark jumping to tinder. "My sister." She swallows the name. Looks away. I'm not finished with him. Lily Mae's voice is barely more than the kettle's hiss. "He took me on a claim he wrote for himself. Called me collateral." She stares at her scarf like it knows the shape of her father's hands. "My pa." I glance at the door. The wind plucks the sign and makes it knock a slow rhythm against wood. "If he hung you here," I say. He meant to leave a mile-high warning at the gate. Isabella's mouth lifts at one corner, a smile without warmth. Warning works best when fear is close. "He didn't think anyone would lift a knife." She raises her chin toward me. "You lifted yours. That makes you part of our sentence or part of our fight. I'm tired of men telling me I belong to their sentences." The words come up from a place I keep buried. The Army taught me the difference between order and truth. The West teaches me daily what it costs to pretend you don't know it. "I made my choice when I cut the first rope," I say. "This is my land now. And if we hold it, we'll hold it together." The declaration feels like it belongs to the room more than it belongs to me. It tastes of something older than law, call it promise, call it vow. The fire answers with a pop. Martha nods once, decisive. "Then let's drink. Then let's think. We eat little because there is little, and we use few words because the ones worth using need room to settle. The cabin's black corners give way to gray, and in that gray the world outside draws breath. Hooves. At first they sound like a traveler who got up early. Then a pair of travelers. Then a line of travelers who didn't bother to count how many they were by any measure except enough." I step to the porch with the rifle in my hands. The Winchester feels like honesty. "If you do this, you mean it." A strip of fog clings low across the valley. 3 riders stand on a rise like chess pieces carved out of night. Behind them, more shapes assemble. A quiet multiplication. Isabella stands beside me, hair still tangled, neck marked by the rope's hand. She looks at the men the way a hunter looks at weather. "Callahan," she says, "cold as a creek in January. He knows we lived." Scarlett leans against a window frame and bares her teeth in something not even pretending to be a smile. "He wants to see us die twice." Lily Mae grips Martha's sleeve. Evelyn collects papers and straps the pouch across her body with surgeon's neatness. I work the rifle's lever. It clicks home with a sound that has calmed me and warned others more times than I care to count. "Inside," I say. "We'll make a fortress out of what we have." Jeremiah's cabin offers solid walls and stubborn nails. Windows we can break to make murder holes. A heavy table we can flip, old tools we can swing, and newer guns we can load. I hand Scarlett an old Colt. It rides like it belongs in her defiant fist. I give Lily Mae a sawed-off that looks too big for her but fits her fear in a way that lets it fire straight. I slide a slender knife to Evelyn and tuck a derringer into her sleeve. Martha takes a battered musket from the mantel and weighs it like a judge weighs a sentence. "You can still ride." She murmurs to me, last chance held out like a cup of water. "I rode last night," I answer. I ride again now, but not away. Isabella pulls a dagger from her boot, nicked, dulled from long use, and presses it to my palm. The touch of her fingers is warm, bone solid. "Then hold this," she says. Not because it's sharp, because it reminds your hand what it's for. Outside, the three riders on the rise split like a river breaking around a stone. Callahan is easy to pick out even at a distance. Tall in the saddle, coat swinging like a judge's robe, hand resting easy on a revolver like it's an old friend. His men funnel out behind him, more than 20, torches flaring as they spread and circle. The cabin shrinks, and then it doesn't. It gathers itself. War has a way of making even the smallest roof feel like a crown. Callahan's voice carries clean through the cold. "Ward," he calls. He pronounces my name like a verdict. "You cut them down. Consider this your last good deed. Step out. Hand them over. Hand me Jeremiah's land. You'll breathe long enough to regret it somewhere else." I raise the rifle and step to where the porch throws a little shadow, not for hiding but for standing. "Come take what the will gave me," I say. Voice hoarse but steady. "Come take what you hung and couldn't finish." For a second, half-second, the world holds its breath. Then a shot cracks. The gatepost spits splinters. The pack moves. Gunfire swallows the morning. Bullets punch the walls. Spit dust. Windows burst into teeth. Scarlet yells a sound equal parts fury and relief and fires. A man trying to vault the porch boards buckles and tumbles. Lily Mae squeezes the shotgun with her eyes clenched, pulls, recoils, stumbles, reloads with Martha's hands guiding hers. The second blast sends two riders spinning out of saddles like rag dolls tossed by a spoiled child. A shape lunges through the window hole. Evelyn is not where she was. She appears, knife a silver whisper, and the man gasps wet and stops moving. She kneels and grabs his belt for cartridges, efficient, unflinching. Isabella moves beside me, 2 quick shots through smoke, each one more a thought than a question. "Left," she says, and I lean left. A round slaps wood where my head had been. Flames lick up where Martha's lantern explodes against a barrier, halting horses in a rearing, screaming knot. "Keep low," she orders, voice cutting clean through chaos. She pulls Lily Mae back, checks her shoulder, shoves her forward again, a steadying push. On the porch, I work the Winchester. The rhythm takes hold. Sight, breath, squeeze, lever. Sight, men fall. Hooves pound the dirt like war drums turned wild. Callahan hangs back, because men like him pay others to bleed first. He watches with a calm that should be illegal. His face is a mask that learned to be a face only because the law expects one. He directs with a lift of his chin, with a lazy gesture that sends 3 at once to flank. "Smoke them," I hear him say. "Or burn them." Scarlet laughs, a sound knife-sharp. Let him try. I catch movement at the corner, a shadow about to become a man, about to become a problem, and put a round where his shoulder is going to be, not where at Island. He screams, drops, crawls, stops. Another figure, another breath, another shot. I forget to hate the part of me that still knows how. It's easier to catalog the things I can control. Angle, range, wind's tilt, the tremor in Lily Mae's hand. "Elias," Isabella says. Not loud, not soft. My name sounds like a stake hammered home. She points with her chin. Callahan himself is moving, walking, not riding. He wears the quiet like perfume. A silver-handled revolver gleams. The smoke makes halos around him. He is the kind of man the world keeps trying to teach you to fear, so that you don't have to work the muscle for courage yourself. He stops a few yards from the porch, safe by math but dangerous by intention. "You think you saved them," he calls. "All you did is dig a deeper hole. Around here, the law is what I say it." Island. I straighten, shoulder burning from a graze I don't remember earning. The Winchester is heavy, a good kind of heavy. "Then come closer and say it again." I tell him. Isabella steps forward, her face cut from firelight and smoke. She pulls papers from the inside of her coat and lifts them where he can see. "You lose your law when we show your truth," she says. "Debt contracts you forged, seals you stole, land you claimed with a pen and a rope. You bought sheriffs like poker chips. That ledger breaks the game." Callahan sneers. He looks at the papers the way a man looks at a sermon when he's already chosen his sin. "Paper don't stop bullets," he says. His revolver rises. The barrel points straight at Isabella's heart. My body moves because it refuses not to. I shove her aside, the world narrowing to the black hole of a gun's mouth. 2 shots rip the air, his and mine. Time stutters. The slap of recoil. The hot sting against my shoulder. The taste of pennies. The pitch of Scarlet cursing. The soft "oh" of Lily May. Callahan staggers, his coat jerking spastically where the bullet finds meat. His revolver spins out of his hand, skitters in dirt. Scarlet strides forward, eyes blue fire. Colt steady. "Time's up, Judge," she says. "You ain't the one doing the hanging anymore." Beyond the ring of men and fire, new hoofbeats roll in. A drumbeat of order that makes Callahan's men look smaller than they did a moment ago. Badges catch moonlight. When did the moon rise? And for once the glitter isn't for show. Marshal Briggs leads them, beard shining like cut wire, eyes sharp as a new edge. He takes in the bodies, the fire, the tears that refuse to fall yet, the fury that refuses to die yet. "Callahan," he says, voice like an iron door's hinge. "We've been looking for you. Ledger says you've been everywhere but where you ought to be." He doesn't read rights. He reads truth. Men scatter or lay down guns. Sometimes those are the same choice spoken in 2 tongues. Briggs's riders round up the survivors. The cabin takes a breath that isn't made of smoke for the first time since morning. Evelyn steps out with her pouch and hands it to the marshal. Names, seals, receipts, sworn testimony. Callahan kneels because the body kneels when the legs won't hold it up anymore. His face is still a mask. Only the eyes betray him. He looks at Isabella first. Of course he does. Men like him always look at the most dangerous person in the room and call it accident. He opens his mouth. He says, lies. He says, she's dead. He says the thing cowards say, when truth is a rope on their own throat. Martha's voice slices his denial in 2. "Margaret Callahan is breathing in Denver as of 3 weeks ago," she says. "She signed under oath. We carried it in our hands." The marshal nods. "We've got it," he confirms. "And now we've got you." Briggs's men haul Callahan to his feet and bind his wrists. The robe-like coat doesn't look like a judge's robe anymore. It looks like a shroud he put on early, thinking he'd never have to take it off. As they lead him away, he throws one last look over his shoulder at us, at me. It's pure hate. Hate doesn't frighten me. I know it too well to misunderstand it. It's just love that rotted too long in the dark and got used to the taste of itself. The night exhales. The torches hiss out one by one. The valley returns to its usual sounds. Wind and grass, a horse stamping, wood settling as it cools. I lean my head against the porch post and let the pain announce itself now that survival isn't shouting over it. Martha binds my shoulder with cloth torn from a skirt no one wants to remember wearing. Her hands work with the authority of someone who has put too many things back together to count. "You did right," she says. "I did what needed done. Same thing some days," she answers. 3 days form themselves out of sleep and ash and chores. We bury the dead, even the ones who wanted to bury us. I've learned that graves hold more peace when you don't try to separate the deserving from the undeserving. Dirt makes its own arguments. We repair the gate. The rope that meant to end breath is burned to a soft gray and scattered in the creek. The sign comes down. A new plank goes up. No threat this time. Just a name. Jeremiah's Gate. We build the ordinary back with hands that still remember the extraordinary, and aren't sure they trust it to be gone for long. Lily May plants a little plot out front, sets beans and squash and hopes, moves slow because bruises insist on it. Scarlet claims the horses. She gentles them with a patience I didn't know she had, and swears at them with a poetry I didn't know anyone had. Evelyn settles at the table every afternoon and sorts the papers with a concentration that makes the cabin hum dates lined up against names, seals matched to signatures, lies pinned with the small nails of fact. Martha keeps the ledger of supplies in mouths, counts wood, counts time. She's the kind of book where losing your place would mean losing yourself. Isabella helps everywhere. She moves like a shadow that chose daylight for a change. And when sunset hits her hair, The black drinks the light and returns it green in her eyes. Me? I fix what's broken. I replace a beam, mend a trough, set a hinge, teach my hands scarred from other kinds of work how to do this softer kind. My shoulder throbs sometimes in the evening and reminds me I'm not young enough to call myself young without laughing. That's fine. I never trusted youth much. It spends too hard and brags too soft. On the fourth night, the first night, the stove doesn't smoke like it's rehearsing to be a chimney again. We sit around the hearth with coffee that tastes, miraculously, like coffee. The room is warm. The windows are patched. Outside, the moon hangs over the valley like a coin somebody forgot to pocket. The quiet isn't empty. It's a full bowl that finally stops sloshing. I look at them, Martha and Scarlett and Lily May and Evelyn and Isabella, and I understand the weight in my chest that I've been ignoring because I didn't know if it was an ache or a blessing. Some ropes are made to kill. Some, once cut, become ties. You think cutting a rope is an ending. Turns out it's a beginning, if you're ready to live with what you tied yourself to. I thought I inherited a cabin, I say. The words come out rough, not because I doubt them, but because I mean them too much. Truth is, I inherited you. Martha smiles, the kind of smile that closes a ledger with the numbers all behaving. Scarlett rolls her eyes to keep from crying and fails at both. Lily May lays her hand on the table and studies the calluses she's earned, like they're a story she can read when she's alone. Evelyn nods once, small, definitive. Isabella sets her palm on the back of my hand. Her skin is warm, steady. She doesn't say anything, which is what makes what she says feel taller than if she had. The West keeps the kind of secrets that aren't meant to be kept forever. Where the good water is if you dig. Where the wind drops if you hide behind the right rock. Who you are if you're forced to choose. Judge Callahan's coat hangs in a cell now. The papers Evelyn gathered sit on a marshal's desk. And men with clean hands will smudge them when they read them, because truth leaves a mark even when you try to handle it lightly. Maybe the war isn't over. Men like Callahan don't stay alone in a county. They breed. But every time a rope gets cut, the math changes. Every time a cabin stands after smoke clears, the map shifts a little toward something that looks like home. I step onto the porch before turning in. The frost hasn't come back yet, but the air keeps the promise of it. Jeremiah's gate is sturdy under my fingers. I run my palm over the new plank, the carved letters shallow but honest. I think of Jeremiah's voice, of how he told me land needs more than money. It needs hands. It needs blood. I figured he meant the kind that falls in the dirt. He might have meant the kind that pumps through a group of people sitting at a table who decide to stay. Behind me, Isabella's footsteps fall soft. You're thinking loud, she says. I do that. You fought louder. She leans beside me against the post, shoulder 2 inches from mine. You'll do it again, maybe. The valley curves away like a sleeping beast. Maybe we won't have to. She huffs a breath that might be a laugh. Hope is a stubborn horse, she says. Hard to break. Harder to ride. You naming our horse Hope now? I'm naming what's in your voice. She pushes off the post and turns for the door, then pauses. Get some sleep, Elias. Tomorrow we make fence. Fence keeps things out, I say. Fence keeps things in, she counters. Depends what side you stand on. She disappears inside. I stand under the moon a moment longer and let the west look me in the face. It looks just like it always has. Big, indifferent, honest. You don't win against a place like this. You build with it. You accept its weather and its wolves and its long distances between towns that don't even like their own names. You take what it takes and offer what you have. And you call the trade fair if you can lie to yourself well enough. Tonight, I don't feel like lying. Tonight, I feel paid, somehow, in a currency I don't know how to spend and don't want to hoard. Inside, the fire settles. I settle with it. Sleep comes like a partner who's learned not to knock. Before it closes the door, I see 5 figures around a table in the light. And I see a rope cut clean. And I see a sign burned and thrown into water. And I see a man's coat turned from costume to evidence. I hear hoofbeats that aren't coming for me. I hear a garden being planted by hands that shake but plant anyway. I hear the sound a nail makes when it sinks home under a sure swing. Tomorrow, we'll mend fence. We'll count boards. We'll see if the creek wants to flood and threaten the corner post. And if trouble rides up, if men who call themselves law bring a rope and an old idea, we'll do what we already did. We'll choose. We'll hold. My name is Elias Ward. Some nights I can smell the iron in the air before the wind can. Some mornings I can hear the breath in a body that wants to die but hasn't yet. I came here to keep my head down. What I found when I raised it was mine. Not the land, though the deed says so. The work, the people. The promise hammered into wood and kept by hands and fire. The West is big enough to lose a man in. Big enough to find him too. I used to think the trick was to ride faster than what was chasing you. Maybe the trick is to build where you stop, and let what's worth finding find you. I bank the coals. I close the door. The cabin breathes. We all do.